And now it's overtime with Mike and JD, and I'm your host Mike Gilbert, and I'm joined as always by JD Oliva. How you doing, JD?
Do you still have the original Brace for Impact song? Like, cause that's our second Brace for Impact theme, the AJ Styles one. We had an
Yeah,
original theme from like when we
yeah.
first launched the show. Do you still have that somewhere?
I'll have to dig into my files because Justin Nipper made us one. But you
Yeah.
know what? So I didn't put. I would give the file to Garrett and Justin, and then they would just put it in
Oh
front of
yeah.
it, right? And then once we moved to Streamyard, that's when we asked the guy that created that song on YouTube if we can have it. And then we
Mhm.
just started putting together ourselves. And so I don't think I ever got the audio file from Justin, but
I
I'll
don't
take
think
a
I did
look.
either.
It's probably might be on my because I have a whole folder on my external hard drive where I put all of the files. So I'll have to check to see if I have it.
Yeah. I was just thinking about that one. Because when you did when you ended the regular show and you did the BFI callback, and I was just thinking, I'm like, that's actually our old theme. Like the original BFI theme is somewhere in the ether, and I couldn't remember if I had it on my computer. If you, I couldn't remember. Yeah, I forgot that Garrett used to put these together for us.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was back when we had he was basically like our editor and he was a one man show. And then eventually, when we moved over to the StreamYard platform, it allowed us to be able to do it ourselves to where there's minimal editing on anybody's part. So we upload the
That's
files
like
as is.
that was the best thing that could happen, I think, for the two of us because we got to take more ownership of our show and like
Mhm.
we got pretty good at. I think we got pretty good at Streamyard really quick, to be honest with you, between the two of us.
Yeah. Sometimes I forget to click the right button, but other than
Yeah,
that, we're
yeah,
pretty
I
good.
know. But details,
Yeah.
man, details.
Well, I'm a military guy, and we require checklists for fucking everything. Like it's like checklists and technical orders. Like, okay, step one, do this. Step two, do this. Step three, and it's like we live by it, and regulations and stuff like that.
I'm a teacher. I work in a high school. You know what being a teacher in high school is like? Being in high school.
Yeah.
Some of these people have never had real jobs outside of education, and you can tell.
Yeah. Well, hey, overtime tonight, I think it's gonna be pretty cool, man. Because I'm here. This is gonna be my first time talking like movies for like a legit podcast with an actual film producer and someone that has a
Reti-
film degree,
retired, sir. Retired.
retired. Yeah. But you have a film degree, so I'm curious to hear your takes on this because, and I was a big fan of your show that you did for the JD Oliva project, where you did talking about your favorite like Halloween movies and you had them broken up into different categories.
Thanks, man.
Um, yeah, no, dude, that was one of my favorite ones that you did. Actually, like it's number two, I'd say behind Tony Khan leadership one, which is doing great numbers for us on YouTube.
You said we should put that one on the YouTube, and I'm like, who the fuck is gonna want to listen to me rally against Tony Khan? Turns out a lot of people, some important
Yeah,
people too. So I mean
yeah,
that was a good Mike Gilbert decision, not a good JD Oliva decision, because I was like, but yeah, this is kind of what I do. This is what we do on my other show, Superhero Speak, is we talk about movies, right? Like
yeah.
last week on Superhero Speak, we reviewed The Never Ending Story because there's nothing going on in the world of pop culture right now. So I said we should
Mhm.
review The Never Ending Story because it holds up great. And I
Yeah.
still maintain that. I love talking about older movies, and that's what we're going to do right now.
Yeah, man. So I wanted to, and honestly, JD and I have not prepped, which
Nope.
no, but I like for the first time ever on an overtime, I have no notes. So we're just gonna go off top of the head and we're just gonna riff because this is a last second decision. Um, so I was thinking, yeah, I like the way you did it in categories, and I was trying to think of in between like the 5 minutes from when we ended our last show and we started this show. I was like, what categories of Christmas movies could there be? And I was like, okay, well, you got your old timey
All right.
classics, right?
Yeah,
Your old
let's do
timey
this.
classics. You're talking like pre 1960, black and
Yeah.
white, old timey classics, right? And then you
Hmm.
got your like, your for the whole family, right? You got your family movies from like the 80s and 90s, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then you got your kind of like Christmas adjacent movies, like movies that aren't really about Christmas, but they're set at Christmas time that people that everybody love them. And I think there's one movie in particular that everybody kind of call back to. And so I'll say, and then you got like your animated movies that people like to watch on Christmas time. So I was thinking we'll just go those four categories. We'll go to
I'm
old
good with
timey
that.
classics pre 1960, then we'll do our favorite like 80s and 90s family comedy Christmas movies, right? And then we'll do Christmas adjacent movies set in Christmas time that aren't actually about Christmas, but they still rule, right? And then we'll do our favorite animated ones, and then we'll just riff after that.
Down. Love it. This
Okay.
is like I'll let you guys behind the curtain. Mike and I are very different people. Mike is a military guy. I got kind of a artist writer brain. Mike over prepares for everything, and we're lucky if I ever look at notes. So I mean,
Yeah.
like Mike gonna free will it. So I'm like, fine, we're in JD's world today.
Yeah.
Like the most prep I ever did in an episode was that Halloween one where I had to figure out what the categories were because I was going to do some video, and that was I came out like this was far more work than I ever want to put into a podcast.
Yeah, well, that was great too because you actually had the trailers and the video, and then it worked
Got a
worked well
got
in
a
audio
YouTube
too. So
strike for us. It's awesome. It was
yeah,
perfect.
yeah, yeah. So we're not doing that again because we can't put it on YouTube. But
Mm.
so you know, Christmas movies were like a thing that I shared with my mom, and my mom died a long time ago, and so around this time it always makes me think of her, and I try to share Christmas movies with my daughter, and she actually only likes Christmas Chronicles and Rudolph right now. so so that's but the one of the classic ones that I always like to go back to every year, and I think it could actually fit into another category because it is a movie that people watch every year around Christmas time. It's from I think 1945, 1946. It's a Wonderful Life, but it's a movie that is a great Christmas movie that's not actually about Christmas, but I watch it every year around Christmas time. So like I think if it could fit in two categories, but it's like an all-timey classic, pre 1960. That's one of the ones that I go back to. Plus, Jimmy Stewart, obviously Air Force legend, right? World War II pilot. So got to give him some love.
You took the words right out of my mouth. This is when you made these categories, this is the first movie I was going to go with too. This is one of my
Yeah.
favorite movies. Like regardless of Christmas. Like I watched this movie every year when we were growing up. So here's interesting. It's a Wonderful Life was a failure in 1947 when it came out. It
Mhm.
made like no money. It helped bankrupt RKO Studios, the studio behind it. It
Randy
was a
Orton
fail.
Studios.
Randy Orton Studios. Uh wrestling podcast. So
Sorry.
like, yeah, this no, it's perfectly. I appreciate that. So like, yeah, this was considered a failure. It did not find an audience until it started getting played on TV in the 60s. When things changed, someone forgot to renew a copyright. So when we were growing up, It's a Wonderful Life was on every channel. Like on Christmas Eve, you would look at the TV guide. That's how old Mike and I are, TV guide. And It's a Wonderful Life would be on like 12 different channels at the same time because nobody owned the right. No one renewed the copyright on it. So anybody who wanted to screen it could screen it. The only people that had it, Ted Turner had the copyright in the colorized version. So TBS or TNT would always show the colored version of It's a Wonderful
Yeah.
Life, which has now been banished to the depths of hell. We don't want to look
Yeah.
at that. But then
Nope.
it was in like NBC finally bought it, and I want to say 2005, 2006. And now they just show it once a year. But when we were kids, it was on. I remember my dad would like be up all night on Christmas Eve building stuff for like Christmas, and he would watch It's a Wonderful Life like 12 times over because he's like, this is the best. My dad's not a big movie guy. My mom was the big movie guy growing up. So my love of movies came from my mom. My dad will watch a handful of movies like over and over again. And that's where I really got the love for It's a Wonderful Life because one year he finally said to me, "Says you're going to watch this with me," and it moved me as a kid. Now that I'm an adult, especially a guy who's in his middle age, like I feel George Bailey so much more. I feel his
Mhm.
struggle. I feel because again, like I jokingly said, a retired producer. Like I put a Facebook post out this week talking about how I'm as proud of what I'm doing now as I was when I was in Russia with a camera making documentaries. Like, but there's a part of me that always goes, you were meant for something more, right? And George Bailey feels like that too. He's like, I was supposed to be somebody. I was supposed to do this. I was supposed to do that. And like when he sees the world, what it would be like without him and what a horrible place it is. And like when he just wants to, it's so corny, but it's such a great story where you have this guy who gets a glimpse, just a tiny glimpse of how much impact he had on the lives of his friends and loved ones. And you really see how much one person can really matter. And again, it doesn't have to be a good Christmas story, but the fact that it is during Christmas just makes the movie. And is it kind of schmaltzy? Yeah, but it's so good and it's so honest
Mhm.
and it's so well acted. Like, and it's a it you know, like some people can't watch black and white movies, and I implore you, if you've never seen It's a Wonderful Life, to please give it a chance. It's a long movie. Sit down, watch it. You need all that backstory to understand George Bailey and just like I guarantee you'll feel something. Like if you can't feel something at the end of watching It's a Wonderful Life, you may be dead inside.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get checked out. You know what's so funny? You bring up that people can't watch black and white movies. When I was a kid, I was like that, and I wouldn't
Really?
watch this movie with my mom when I was a kid. And I think I was in 8th grade, and our teacher forced us to watch Mr. Smith Goes to Washington,
Oh,
which
what a
is
great
another
movie.
Jimmy Stewart movie, right?
Mhm.
And he just bodies that role. Like,
Oh,
you want to talk about just like a one-man wrecking crew. Jimmy Stewart and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Like, that's a fucking movie, dude. Like,
the
come on.
filibuster scene is
Yes.
incredible when he's just out there bleeding with his heart and just trying so hard to like wear down these jaded pricks. And Jimmy Stewart is just the most amazing actor at like getting sympathy or getting empathy from an
Mhm.
audience, right? You just look into these eyes. He's always looking. One, he's always like, I'm surrounded by idiots, but then he's just like. So there's so much like pathos in him. Like he was such an incredible actor. I know a lot of that's like a lot of people have problems watching black and white movies, and I never did because again, my mom was a big movie person. So when we were kids, she'd be like, "Let's watch this." She said like we go to the video store and like she'd be like, "Let's watch a Marx Brothers movie." Like when I got really like I'm a big horror guy, right, Mike? You know that. I had this weird like flirtation with horror when I was like my kids' age, Andy's age. I would go to the video store and I would look at the boxes, but I wouldn't like look at them directly. I would have like a distance, like I would be like an aisle away, and I'd like peer over into the horror video section because I was too scared to look at them. Just to look at the boxes, that scared me. And my mom saw me doing this, and she's like, "If you want to watch those movies, we'll start slow and build
Yeah.
yourself up to it." So she bought. So we rented Dracula. Bela Lugosi. And like that's
Mhm.
where my love of movies came from. Is that like my mom sat me down and watched all these things. So I've always had an appreciation for these things because my mom was just a freaking fountain of useless knowledge when it came to movies. So like I've always been super into like I went and saw Godzilla with subtitles last week and I had no qualm to it, except I realized I had a 7-year-old who doesn't read at the same speed that I do. So I had to like translate stuff for him, but he caught up. He was fine. So yeah, man, I
Yeah.
just
So
it's a great movie.
Mr.
Great
Smith
call.
Goes to Washington. It got me into got me into wanting to watch It's a Wonderful Life because like Jimmy Stewart was so awesome. So I
So
watched It's a
good.
Wonderful Life, and then that became one of my like just absolute favorite movies. So I think I've been watching it like at least once a year for, probably like 25 years. I would say like I've been watching it at least once a year. I haven't watched it yet. I'm gonna plan on watching
Me
it
neither.
next week. I have
Now,
my own copy, so I'm gonna check that out. And then
have you
that
one
parlayed that into me wanting to watch The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance because that was one of my dad's favorite movies because it was
good
John
movie.
Wayne and Jimmy Stewart, right? And so that's like, it's not my favorite Western movie, but it's like one of my favorite Western movies. It's just incredible, right? So, but you had something to say on that, and then I got one more classic I want to throw at you, and then we'll move on to the next category.
Jimmy Stewart, have you ever seen Vertigo?
No, I haven't,
Alfred
and you're
Hitchcock.
gonna be
Okay.
disappointed.
No, I'm not disappointed at all. That's
Yeah,
I fucking love when people tell me, "No, I never saw me," because then I get to gush over a movie that I've never seen.
yeah,
Watch Vertigo, because this is
I've
Jimmy
heard that
Stewart
before.
as kind of a scumbag.
Yeah,
It's Alfred Hitchcock, and he's an asshole, but he's
yeah.
like Jimmy Stewart, so he's a likable asshole. But watch Vertigo. I would
Yeah.
love to hear your reaction to Vertigo.
I'm definitely gonna check that out. I'm definitely gonna do that. And before we go on to the next movie, I just want to give a shout out to Beavis and Butthead Christmas special where they spoof It's a Wonderful Life,
I remember
and everyone's life gets better when they're not in it. I love that. That was so good.
that.
That was
I
so
haven't
good.
thought about that in years. That's
Yeah.
great. You're right.
Just one quick shout out to another classic that I don't think gets talked about enough. The Bells of St. Mary's, Bing Crosby, Ingrid
Never
Bergman,
thought of it.
obviously from It's a Wonderful Life, and I'm looking up the name. The angel that was in It's a Wonderful Life is also in this as the villain who ends up turning good.
Ingrid Bergman's in It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, did I get who was shit?
It's
Ingrid
Donna
Bergman.
Reed.
Donna.
They
Shit, I got them mixed up. Sorry.
they do look kinda similar. I can see that
Yeah,
actually. I was con
yeah.
you threw me for a curveball and I had to go through the
Sorry.
Rolodex in my brain. I was like, "Wait,
I I
what?"
I watched St. Mary's earlier this week. I was like, is that the same lady from It's a Wonderful Life? Yeah.
I've never seen The Bells of St. Mary.
Oh, so it's so I'll give you a quick synopsis. I watched it
Yeah,
this
lay
week.
it
It's
on
on
me.
Pluto. Because that was my wife's or my mom's favorite Christmas movie, and I watched it with my wife this week. And so we were able to watch it. I had not seen it since I was a little kid, but it's Ingrid Bergman and Bing Crosby, where Bing Crosby plays basically a priest, and he goes into like a Catholic school that needs help, and they're having help getting funding for their school, and they have troubled kids, and it's set around Christmas time, and it's a good movie, funny movie. Obviously, it's got Bing Crosby, so he's got to just start randomly singing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, but when he starts singing, it's actually it actually fits the movie because like they're about to sing songs anyway, like they're getting ready for like the big church play and stuff like that. And I just found it to be a real charming movie, and I really enjoyed it. So if you've not seen Bells of St. Mary's, kind of an underrated, 1945, I think, classic, pre 1960 Christmas movie.
I will check that out.
All right. So now, we'll have to, I was looking up Christmas movies. I was trying to think of ones from like the 60s and 70s, but other than like the cartoons that were on TV, there wasn't really much from the 60s and 70s. I think the great like family comedy Christmas movies all came from the 80s and 90s. Like, and that's where Christmas movies really got commercialized and just were hitting it big. And my number one Christmas movie ever, right? It's a Christmas movie set on Christmas, about Christmas. The funniest shit ever, Christmas Vacation. I have to watch it every year. I love it so much. It's a tremendous movie.
This is not a great podcast because all we're gonna do is fucking agree with each other the whole time. That's literally what I was gonna pick too.
Well, like, it doesn't. Well, we're not counting down. Just you talk about it, and then you toss out the next one. You toss out the next one.
Fair. Yeah. This is the funniest damn movie. I remember going to the theater to see this movie. I was probably 9 years old when it came. I'm a few years older than you. So like I remember my mom on we had this tradition with my brother, my sister, and my mom. The day after Thanksgiving, we always went to the mall, did some Christmas shopping, and went to a movie. Now that's Black Friday and everybody does that. But in the 80s, it was busy, but it wasn't as high key as it is now. So we always went to the movies. And I remember I can probably go through from like 1985 to about 1992 what movies we saw on Thanksgiving. And remember, in 1989, we went and saw Christmas Vacation at the theater. Yeah. It's a fantastic movie. It's weird. It's the third in the series. How often is the third movie in a series the best movie? And it's the best vacation movie. And it's not even close.
I think it's Christmas Vacation number 1. Number 2 is just the original Vacation. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what was the second one?
European Vacation.
Oh, dude, I'll be honest. I don't think I've ever actually seen European Vacation.
No, nobody has because it sucks. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's worse than Vegas Vacation.
I remember seeing that one. I don't know why I watched it. I think it was just on TV and I watched it. And I was like, oh, this is terrible. I didn't.
Something you spent HBO. It's not good at all. They made a Vacation remake in like 2015 with like Ed Helms and I like that one too. It was pretty stupid, but I was entertained by it. It was funny. Chris Hemsworth kind of steals the movie in that one. But Christmas Vacation, it's literally one of the best Christmas movies ever made. And it's Chevy Chase melting down the whole time. And it's epically hilarious. And there's I can't even think of a number 2 that I would say for a Christmas comedy that's as good as Christmas Vacation.
But just you have another one that's just like from that era that you just like to watch from the 80s era, the 80s, 90s?
Honestly, Mike, I'm not a big Christmas movie guy. I know people get all geeked up for I'm a Halloween guy. Yeah. Halloween's my favorite. I like Christmas, but I'm not like I don't sit and get jazzed up for Christmas movies and stuff like that. So I'm trying to think of honestly, Bad Santa, I guess, is all right, but I mean that's like not even in the same stratosphere as Christmas.
No, and you can't watch that one with your kids. Right?
No,
and
you
so
can't.
That becomes tough because like that's part of the like Halloween movies. You don't really like. There's some you want to watch with your kids, but for the most part, that's like you want to. That's dad time, right? But Christmas time, it's about family. And so another one of my favorites just from that era is Scrooged. I love Scrooged.
Oh yeah, I can't believe I didn't think of that one,
dude. I almost put a separate category for just Christmas Carol movies, right? Because it's my number 2 favorite Christmas movie ever, Scrooged. It's just something that I just find because Bill Murray's one of my favorite actors. Like he just cracks me up. But it's the best version of a Christmas Carol that there's out there, and I've seen a lot of them.
Okay, it's funny you said it. I'm gonna use this to pivot. You said Christmas Carol movies. My favorite animated Christmas movie is Mickey's Christmas Carol.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah,
I love it with all again, I saw this at the theater. This might have been one of the first movies I ever saw. I think I was 3 or 4, and it's been, like, etched in my brain ever since, and that's like I watch this movie every Christmas, and I got Andy in to watch it with me every Christmas. I just I love The Christmas Carol, right? I think the story is fantastic. It's so pure and it's so good that and I think that using the Disney characters to make that like, I know people get into Muppets Christmas Carol, but I actually think the Mickey's Christmas Carol is a lot better. Like,
Mhm.
I think they flush the characters out better, and it's the first I mean, like, I love DuckTales. DuckTales was my jam as a little kid, and, like, that's the first time, like, Scrooge McDuck really got seen was in Mickey's Christmas Carol because that predates DuckTales, and then they go use the same guy to do the voice of Uncle Scrooge for years. Like,
Mhm.
it's such a good movie and it's wholesome, but it doesn't shy away from like the Ghost of Christmas Present, the Ghost of Christmas Future is spooky in any version of a Christmas Carol you're going to see. And Disney doesn't shy away from that. They don't shy away from the horror of that scene. Like
Yeah.
Scrooged does an excellent job. Like when Bill Murray is going into the crematorium is
Mhm.
legitimately terrifying. I mean, again, Mickey's Christmas Carol isn't nearly on that level, but I mean, like it does the same job for little kids. It's pretty spooky for a little kid, and it just hits with me every fucking time I see it. I love it so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. We watched Mickey's Christmas Carol recently with my kid, and she's like, "Why is Goofy a ghost?" You know, she she it kind of freaked her out a little bit. And
I can
then
see that.
I I tried to show her the one with Jim Carrey that I really love the one with Jim Carrey, the
I've never seen
animated
it.
Christmas Carol.
Is it pretty good?
Yeah, yeah, I really like it, yeah, and the animation in there, they get really like, it's actually pretty damn scary. So,
Really?
I had to turn that one off when my daughter was around. I was like, "Okay, yeah, probably," and I watched that one in the theater too. Um, and so as far as, like, 80s, 90s, family comedies, I've always loved Home Alone 1 and 2. I love both of those. I think they're both really good. I'm a number 2 fan. Go ahead.
I hate Home Alone.
Okay, okay. Now,
I
well, here we
hate it.
go.
I hate it so told you about the tradition, right? That was
Yeah.
the movie in 1990, and I the first time I remember going, "This is like, it's one of the first times I remember hating a movie at the theater. I have never and I don't know why, and Andy's into it now. Andy will watch Home Alone, and I'm just like, "I don't know what it is, man." There's something
You're the
about, like,
only person I've ever met that doesn't like Home Alone.
never liked it. Couldn't stand Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah,
Couldn't stand him, like and I'm convinced now that kid grew up to become a serial killer, right?
that's
Because he
very
just
possible.
like, he's like the jigsaw he's like it's like proto jigsaw killer the whole
Yeah.
time. Like, he's just obscenely torturing these poor guys who just wanna rob a house. They just wanna steal some inanimate objects, and this kid is, like, torturing him, and then they wanna kill him, which, when a guy drops a bowling ball on your head, that's a natural reaction.
Yeah, you're wondering, like, eventually, he loses the moral high ground, but, he does it in a funny and charming way.
I mean, it's like a Warner Brother. I guess that's what it is. It's like it tries to play it off like a Warner Brothers cartoon, but I don't know, man. Like I remember watching My Girl as a kid, and he dies with a bee stings. I was like, kind of. I
Yeah.
could not
Mm.
stand Macaulay Culkin as a kid. I have no rational explanation to tell you why at 10 I was like, fuck this kid. Like I don't know. I hate to this day. I hate Home Alone.
Well, I always really liked it, but, I'm only a couple years younger than you, but people getting hurt has always been funny to me.
I'm
Um,
entertained by people getting hurt.
yeah,
I
I
don't. I
I
mean,
like slapstick comedy.
me
I
too.
love it. Yeah,
Me
and I
too.
love Joe Pesci and, who was the other guy? Daniel Stern. I
Dale
was
Stern.
I always thought he was I liked him in City Slickers too. I always liked him in those
That's a good
movies,
movie.
but
You know what's
yeah.
another good, family holiday movie? It's more of a Thanksgiving movie, but it's got that Christmassy vibe too, is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely more of a Thanksgiving movie, but I love that around
It's
holiday
a
time.
holiday,
John
movie, yeah.
Candy, Steve Martin,
Mhm.
good stuff, and then the big twist, the big reveal that John Candy. Oh, spoiler alert if you haven't watched a 40-year-old movie, but
Yeah, 35-year-old movie, yeah.
yeah, that he's
Spoilers.
homeless. Yeah, and
Mhm.
so that's such a heartbreaking part. Um,
Absolutely, absolutely
yeah,
heartbreaking, but they're so good together. John Candy, it's, like, he was such a good comedic actor, but he does such a great job of, like, making you feel for him. Like he was underrated how good of an actor he was. He wasn't just a comedy guy. He was just talented.
Yeah. So moving on, we got a few minutes left here. So this is probably going to be like the the one category. I don't know why every year everybody wants to get into a debate about whether or not Die Hard is a Christmas movie. It's such a dumb debate to me.
It's a cliche, man.
Yeah. It like, and I honestly, like, it's so cliched. Skip Bayless was talking about it on his show earlier this week. I was like, I just want to hear you guys talk about football. But and like just randomly, like, macho guys will just try to convince you that they're macho because they like Die Hard and it's a Christmas movie to them. And it's like okay, look, it's not about Christmas. It's set at Christmas time, but a Christmas movie is a movie that you like to watch with your family around Christmas. And if Die Hard's that movie for you, cool. I love Die Hard. I love Die Hard too. Die Hard with a Vengeance, not so much, but I love the first one.
Oh, we are in total opposite ends of the spectrum. Die Hard with a Vengeance is the best Die Hard movie.
You think so?
100%.
With Samuel L. Jackson
and Jeremy Irons. I fucking love that movie where they have to solve the riddles and go around. I think it's fantastic. I hate Die Hard too.
It's not a terrible movie. I just didn't like. I was like, oh, this is number 3 of 3, and then I think they did Die Hard 4. I think they did number 4, and I don't think I ever watched it. Yeah.
They go off the rails after that. After Die Hard, like the return Die Hard movies where Bruce Willis has no hair are all bad. Don't watch it. Don't watch any of them. No, I actually think Die Hard 3 is probably better than Die Hard 1.
Really?
I love Die Hard 3. I think it's just more going on. I think it's a better story. Yeah. I think it's a little bit more cerebral. Like, you got to think about stuff, but it's fun. Jeremy Irons is a great villain. Like, I think Die Hard 3 is excellent. Die Hard 2 was done better with Wesley Snipes as Passenger 57. It's the same movie, but Passenger 57 is a better movie.
Yeah. But people like Die Hard around Christmas time. Look, it's a movie set in Christmas that's not about Christmas that people like to talk about during Christmas time. So we got to talk about it. But I think it's an amazing movie. It's an excellent movie. JD, I think you got one that you want to talk about.
I'm pretty sure this is why you did this. For you, when you had the old Combat Republic site, this is like how our friendship started. Is I was writing movie reviews for your website when I got we had nothing to do during the pandemic, and I was watching all these movies on HBO Max. And I talked about my favorite Christmas movie that I will argue is a Christmas movie. And that's Gremlins.
Mm-hmm.
Again, because I'm a fucked up human being. And again, my mom took me to see this movie at the theater at 4. I was 4 sitting there with my stuffed Gizmo toy, watching a gremlin get stuffed into a microwave and put into a blender and loving every minute of it. So that explains a lot about what happened to me. So, but anyway, Gremlins, the entire story is predicated on Christmas. Hoyt Axton's Randall Peltzer character ventures into Chinatown, little dicey now, to find a Christmas gift for his son. And it can't just be anything. He's got to find a special gift for his kid. And it's like, it's such this great commentary on American, fucked up American 80s values and the fucked upness of commercialism that you release these monsters into the world. But that movie needs Christmas. The entire point of that movie is Christmas. That movie doesn't happen unless it happens in Christmas time, right? And I think it's a great, it's a horror. In the 80s, we used to have these horror comedies, right? Like these horror movies that were fun and funny, right? And there's a good collection of them. The Howling is another one. The Monster Squad, like there's a lot of them. They don't really make those kind of things anymore, which is unfortunate. But Gremlins is a shit ton of fun, but it never makes fun of the subject matter. Like, it takes it seriously, but it's also kind of a wink at the same time. And like, I just love the story. It's the story of a family whose desire to have something special bites them in the ass and ruins Christmas. But at the end of the day, they figure it out and they're closer together because of it. Right? It's easily my favorite Christmas movie. And I know we were asking for it. I should pull it up and post with the show notes for this episode.
I wish you would, because I think we have a whole new episode or a whole new audience here. I think you should just release it on the Patreon just for free.
Yeah.
Just, because it was that was when you did those things, and you ain't got the time now, so don't even think about trying it now. But if you have the old articles, just
I
republishing them
do.
on our site, because I can't find them on the Combat Republic site. It's dead. But this one, the Gremlins one, because I'll be honest with you, I hadn't seen Gremlins since I was a little kid.
Oh,
And reading your article made me go back and watch. I was like, oh man, I fucking love this movie.
it's
Like,
great. It's a
yeah,
great movie.
it's a great movie, and it's a great Christmas movie.
It
Like, it's a
is.
legit, like it legitimately, like, it's like on the fence of being about Christmas. But if you think about it, like the more you think about it,
It's
it's
totally
absolutely, it's
about
like it's
Christmas.
about a dad getting his kid a Christmas
Yeah.
present.
And
Like
it goes
what it's
horribly
about.
wrong. That's
Yeah,
the whole and again, people laugh at me when I say this to them. I say Gremlins is my favorite Christmas movie, and they go, "Ha ha, JD and his horror movies." Like, no, I mean, like, it really is, and it's dark and it's kinda twisted, yeah, but the whole thing, unlike Die Hard, which could take place in Easter, it could take place during Thanksgiving, Gremlins has to take place during Christmas.
yeah,
It doesn't work if it's not in Christmas time, right? And I'm glad you said that because I haven't read it, and gosh, I think I wrote that for you 3 years ago. So we should do
yeah,
that. We should actually post those. I mean, those were a lot of fun. I was picking some random ass movies to
yeah,
review for that site. It
yeah.
was cool.
And then you would pick them, and because of that, you got me into watching animated Batman movies because I had never seen
Oh
one
yeah,
before.
Mask of the
And you did
Phantasm.
your article about Mask of the Phantasm, and dude, I watched Gotham by Gaslight. I think is that what's Gotham? I watched that 2 nights ago. Yeah.
It's in,
So
Batman versus Jack the Ripper.
yeah. So I watch those I just go on HBO Max randomly and watch those old Batman movies. Actually, that
And
one's pretty neat.
that's what I would do. I would just go into Max and I'd be like, "What haven't I seen in a while?" I think I reviewed like Inner Space and
You did, yeah.
Dreamscape, and like I was
Mhm.
picking some random ass movies, but I was like, oh god, I did the Frighteners,
Yeah.
and Andy was watching it with me, and I totally forgot how fucked up a movie that was, and my wife was so mad at me for that because I mean, it's the first like 10 minutes of the Frighteners is kind of messed up. Like I forgot. I'm like, oh, horror comedy, Michael J. Fox, it's fine. Wrong. Big
Yeah.
wrong, that one. So, yeah, man, those are God, I wish I had the time. That was a fun project we did.
Yeah. Yeah, if you end up finding those, let's just put them on Patreon. I
Let's
think
do it.
people
I
would
think I
really dig
do.
that. Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. I just want to give a shout out to some more movies because I know we're gonna have some
Let's
people
do it.
listening. Like, Mike, you forgot about this. Mike, you forgot about that. But JD has to get to bed soon, so just quick shout outs. Big fan of the Santa Claus, Tim Allen. I love the original. I love the original. The two after that. I think people don't like him because he's a Republican, but he makes me
No, I
laugh.
didn't
So
like it. No, I
yeah.
hated that movie years ago, so,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Also big fan of Elf with Will Ferrell.
That's a good movie. I like Elf.
Love Buddy the Elf. My daughter loves Buddy the Elf. Last year she got me an Elf Christmas mug, with Buddy on the mug. So that was her thing. And then if you want to get violent for Christmas, and JD, I know you like violence.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, last year a movie came out with David Harbour from Stranger Things called Violent Night. That movie is so fucking awesome. You can't watch it with your family, but it's like Santa Claus kicking ass. Love it.
There's a movie that's coming out this year, and I cannot remember the title of it, but it essentially looks like Death Wish on the holidays,
Silent
and
Night.
is that what it's called? Silent Night?
I think it's called Silent Night, something like that. And it's got the guy who played in the RoboCop remake that was terrible, but he's pretty badass.
I've never seen I
Don't,
couldn't bring
don't
myself to do the
yeah,
RoboCop
don't do it.
remake. I
Yeah,
just sniffed it out. I sniffed it out.
yeah,
But the trailer for Silent Night looks so fucking awesome. I remember
yeah,
watching this, I'm like, it's fucking Death Wish. I haven't seen a Death Wish movie in decades. Like, that's something I'm going to be watching soon. So
yeah,
that looks
yeah.
awesome. Other
Man,
Christmas movies that I want to shout out. Let's talk about Batman Returns.
there you go.
There's a Christmas movie that it doesn't really need Christmas, but it still works for the holidays. So I'll put Batman Returns on that list.
Yeah. If you're Netflix, they got a few good ones. Both Christmas Chronicles, my family loves, and
Ditto.
Is it Klaus or Claus? Claus. It's about like the origins of Santa. It's
Oh,
pretty.
that was good. We did see that. That's a fun movie, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like that.
yeah. It's
That-
very man. It'll tug at your heartstrings. That one. It
yeah,
really will.
it's
Yeah,
good. The Christmas Chronicles I really like because Kurt Russell plays Santa,
yeah,
and I sold my kid on watching Big Trouble in Little China with me. I'm like, it's Santa from Christmas Chronicles, and he was like, "Is it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's when he was young." I said, "This is like the origin of Santa." And he was like, he gave me the cock eye because he's 7 now. He doesn't buy that bullshit. But he's like, I'll watch this. And then he dug it at the end. He was like, okay,
yeah,
this is cool. But yeah,
yeah.
man, Christmas Chronicles is it's a fun movie. Both of them. I like them both.
Yeah, my daughter is addicted to Christmas Chronicles 2. That's her
So
favorite, and so
that was Andy last year. I watched that movie
Belsnickel,
so
man.
many times. Bells Nichols a fucking little
Yeah,
shit.
yeah, he is. Yeah, dude, I could talk Christmas movies all day, all night. Honestly, I think like Santa movies could have their own category because not every Christmas movie has Santa. So there's
No.
like so many that are just about Santa that are really good.
Have you ever seen Santa Claus from, like, 1985?
Yeah,
Is it good? I
yeah.
remember watching it as a kid, and I have no
No.
memory of it. Is it
Yeah, no,
terrible?
yeah, I don't like it. Yeah, no, I'm not a big fan of that one.
Okay.
But oh god. Yeah, I could go on if I had more notes. I would. Oh, you know what? Quick shout out before we go. Another movie that is not a Christmas movie, but it's set at Christmas. That for some reason I like to watch around Christmas time. Original Lethal Weapon. Love it.
Oh, Shane
Yeah,
Black.
yeah. What?
Well, Shane Black, that's the oh, wow. Oh, man. I know before we go, now I have to educate you.
Okay.
Shane Black is, one of the greatest writers in how action writers specifically. He was actually in Predator. He's in Arnold's group in Predator. His first big screenplay was Lethal Weapon. He also directed Iron Man 3. I want to say he wrote like the last Boy Scout too.
Oh,
Like
I love that one
I
too.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
IMDb Shane Black. That was like
Okay.
Lethal Weapon was his big foray into being like the action writer.
Okay. Yeah.
Monster Squad. He also wrote Monster Squad.
Oh, okay. Well,
So
I
I
like
mean,
that one too.
I'm
And
glad I
then
got you that. Yeah,
yeah,
Lethal Weapon, great flick.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Speaking of Mel Gibson, the Fat Man. He plays Santa in that one. That was pretty badass too.
I've never heard of the Fat Man.
Are you shitting me?
I've never heard of it.
No,
This is the first I've ever heard of this
it's
film.
not one for your kid. It's rated
Oh,
R.
okay.
But he plays like Santa, and people try to come and kill him. and he goes on a killing spree. Like he beats the fuck out of people. Yeah, it's fantastic. But Mel Gibson, like aging like 65-year-old Mel Gibson, like just
Super
being
problematic Mel Gibson killing people
problematic.
as
But
Santa Claus. It's
in a movie,
lunacy.
he's a badass, and does a lot of killing in that one. People come to try to take over his little area there.
So
to
it's the
run him out
movie
of town.
essentially, it's the movie from Scrooged. The night the reindeer died.
Yeah, basically, yeah. But yeah, essentially, like it's the one that it has, and I don't think it got like a wide release. It's kind of a cult classic, but I'm trying to think
Must
of,
be. I've never heard of
you
it.
know what? I think Daza was the one to tell me to watch it. He goes,
Oh,
Mike, you'll really like this one. I was like, okay, so I checked it out. It was on, I think it was on Peacock, if I remember correctly, but
dude,
it's
I don't
out there.
think I don't think I know a human being that knows as much about movies as Daza does. Like it's like his knowledge of film is incredible.
And he is pretty spot on too. Like if
He
he
is.
tells me, he's like, Mike, you'll like it. Because he actually recommended a JFK one to me that I had never heard of before, called Executive Action, that came out in the 70s, where
How
they
was that?
basically it was excellent. And they essentially tell the story of what they think happened during the Kennedy assassination. And like the way they film it, like it's like, oh yeah. And after it's over, it's like that is pretty reasonable that could have been the case. And they
I've
just
never heard
they
of
just
that.
say it as if that's exactly how it happened. But they did a really good job. So when he posts movies and stuff, like he didn't even know this sometimes. I'll just be like, oh, I think I'm gonna add that to my list, and I'll like favorite it or something like that, and then I'll go check it out and watch it eventually. But yeah,
Yeah,
he's got a good batting average.
he does. He does. I was whenever he posts something, usually I'll go into the forum or the Discord and see kind of what Daz is talking about movies because he'll find some left field stuff. I'm like, I've never heard of this movie. And
Yeah.
it's like I like his picks. They're good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hey, we went way too long.
That's
Well,
what we
eight
do.
8 minutes. I said, JD, can you give me 30? And you're like, I can do 30. Well, you gave me 38. Thank you for that. I appreciate you. Hey guys, that's gonna do it for overtime this week. And until next time, mahalo.